I was thinking normally it's Facebook that's slow, but anywho, welcome to the third and penultimate part of, I've got the right title in, but of the game Italy versus Northern Ireland, which happened yesterday. This is behind schedule because ideally I would have done this before the game, or at least at half time or whatever, before or during the game or just after the game. But I am behind schedule because I was going to do it last night, but I didn't manage to get around to it. I was watching Question Time and This Week, two political shows in Britain, but afterwards I didn't. I got a bit too lazy and demotivated. I thought I'd wait till today as well, try and think of some ideas. But anywho, these as usual are pointers number 21 to 30, and due to my silly patterns, today I'm focusing on the Facebook screen. Before it was the YouTube screen that I was focusing on because it's a Friday, so I think I like Facebook Friday. Some silly patterns, and I'm also drinking this for a silly reason because this is Fanta. So I think of like one, it's Friday, and two, I think of like my fantasy. So fantasy is like dreams. In this case, for Italian football. Another thing I was thinking of is like something I've seen and thought of before, which is like the spend Bill Gates money challenge or spend Elon Musk money challenge. I was looking at something on my phone, and it was it said there's like a game for kids where I think it seemed to say where it was like the spend Bill Gates money challenge or spend Elon Musk money challenge, but it said it's not available in your country or whatever. But I was thinking of doing a video on that, but I thought I'd finish this for now and maybe to cover that another time. But anyway, these are pointers number 21 to 30. And as ever, please let me know what you think in the comments, what you think about Italy itself and Italian football specifically, or whatever else you want to comment. I know that I only support Italy in Antwerp, or for the football, as I put it. But yeah, also I didn't have a confession to make. I didn't get out of bed till like 2 o'clock or just after 2. Like, by the time I actually got up properly, it was about 2:30 because I got up early to feed the cat. Well, not early, but like 11:30 or something ridiculous like that. So even that was quite late. And then I went back to sleep. Still struggling to get motivated, but I would have thought Italy's win would have got me more motivated. But I know Italy has a tough game against Bosnia. Anyway, these are points number 21 to 30, as I say. So here goes. So number 21, I'd love to thinking about. I know I'm trying to cover the. Well, it's too late to cover the game, so to speak. But I know I mentioned about how Italy was not that great, and I hope a lot of improvements are made. I hope the Italian team can say like the goalkeeper kept like taking risks, which I think were unnecessary for a goalkeeper to take. So thinking about the game itself and what I saw and heard about the game, a few times our keeper Donnarumma, for as good as he can be at shot stopping or whatever, he gave away a chance which nearly let Northern Ireland back into the game. And against better teams, he'll be punished for that. I know he's done it for PSG. I don't know if he's done it for Man City, but he's made quite a few mistakes which I think have potentially cost his club or country in some cases. Although he can make some great saves and he is quite tall, I think sometimes he should just hoof the ball forward or just make sure he's not sure he's going to make a pass. He's not focused. He should just hoof the ball forward, or if he is going to play around the back, I think he should only do that sometimes and be really assured that his pass is going to pretty much reach players. Because the last player, as I said yesterday, the last player you want to make a mistake pretty much is your goalkeeper. Also, there's some things Gattuso said which really seems to have said. I think Bosnia have accused Italian fans of like celebrating because Bosnia beat Wales, so they're saying that we've already won, or we think we've already won as Italian fans. I hope that's not the case. Like I think we've got to go in there and think not give them too much respect, but not disrespect them. Like I've got to admit, I don't know much about their team more. Who they've got? I know they've got Dzeko, but I think we just got to stop the ball from getting to him, stop the ball from getting to their striker, and try and keep the ball. I think our passing should be sharper as well, come to think of it. Should try and cut out those mistakes and try and be more clinical, because we might not get that many chances against Bosnia, and if we do get to the World Cup, we're not going to get that many chances against bigger teams like Argentina, Spain, France, Brazil, and teams like that. I think we've got to have that heart and spirit to go and beat them. I think, like, I know Italian players are not the best, like man for man, like for like, but when we compete against those teams, so we've got to beat them on spirit and desire and hunger and that kind of thing. People say that the players are lacking all that kind of thing. So I think they've got to get that spirit and hunger back into the game, and that kind of thing. I also think about more generally for Italian football, and I was thinking about my plans ahead for the future. I think like I'd love to. Well, no, I'd love to see Italy get back to the top. So I'd love to see like a campaign again. As I often say, I know I've said this before, but it's 21 again. I'd love to see a campaign to make Italian football great again, to make Italian soccer great again, or whatever. So, like on billboards and in schools and in parks, encouraging people to play football and things like that. Again, I know I talked about that before, but with a campaign to make Italian soccer, football, or whatever you want to call it, as it's Friday, I'll say football Fridays, great again. So I'd love to see Italy working with the diaspora, including celebrities, to fund more pitches and opportunities to play football. And talking about the diaspora, again, I know I mentioned this before, but I really hope that, including against Bosnia, which I hope we'll get through it, but I hope from that game onwards, or ASAP basically, and I suppose that being our next game, from that game onwards, I hope all the diaspora, I think that's the 31st, last day of the month, hopefully we can end March on a really good, positive. I would have loved to have seen Ireland get through as well, but it wasn't to be for them. Strangely, all the teams from the British Isles, as they say, or whatever, including Ireland. I don't know if that includes the British Isles, but Ireland and the British teams, except for obviously England and Scotland, who have already got through. Northern Ireland obviously lost, and Ireland lost on penalties, and Wales lost on penalties. But that does show that Bosnia has that grit. They can come back. They scored a late goal, and in the 86th minute, and they won on penalties. So I hope we don't give them too much respect. I hope we don't give them too little respect. We just play our game and hopefully play to our strengths, find out their weaknesses and all that kind of thing, just like I talked about with Wales, with Northern Ireland. But yeah, I'd love to see, talking about 21 again and thinking about my parents and all that kind of thing, I'd love to see Italy connect with its diaspora through football, so they can connect with their roots through football. Obviously, Americans and all that would call it soccer, but connected with Italian Americans, Argentinians, Brazilians, Canadians, and even people in Britain or around Europe, or even across Africa, Asia, Australasia, and around the world, to get behind the team, and including celebrities, and also have a campaign to make Italian soccer great again, Italian football great again. So, like Italians themselves, Italian businesses, councils, politicians, and all those in Italy itself, and also from the diaspora, to sort of fund football pitches and that kind of thing. But yeah, hopefully to make Italian football great again, make Italian football back to the top again, in fact, back to the very top. Hopefully, I'd love for us to. I really hope everyone goes all hands on deck, so to speak, all feet on deck, in a way, the players, so to speak, as it's football, to get to not only get to World Cup, but hopefully go on, preferably all the way, and have a miracle and go on to win it with the team spirit and that kind of thing, and maybe take each game as it comes, but really just don't fear each opposition, but give them just enough respect to just always put in 100% and try and go out for the win and try and get that 5th title to catch up with Brazil, go joint top, and hopefully in 2030 we'll win again. That'd be amazing to go back, to go right to the top for the first time since, ironically, perhaps the 30s, 1934 and 1938, when Italy was top of the world. But 1938 we won 2 before anyone else. So I know Uruguay won the first one. But anyway, I'm going to move on. Sorry, I'm waffling, I know. But moving on to point number 22, I hope Italian football can continue to improve. Again, working with the diaspora, working with people across the country. I love for my fellow Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians, and people with mental health problems, and neurodivergent people, see what we could do to help fund and just generally support Italian football, share ideas for it and that kind of thing, and see what can be done to benefit Italian football at club and country level, and how it can be marketed around the world. Whether that's through the fashion, the nice kits and all that kind of thing, or whatever it might be. I don't know if there's a dignified way to do this, but I went to show, I am wearing my, it is a bit cold, but so that's why I'm wearing a jumper on top of it, but I am wearing my Italy jumper. I know it's not official, but my mum's friend, I know I've worn this before, but my mum got me this from Sicily. Well, she's from Sicily, so I assume it's from there, but it's when Italy won the World Cup in 2006, so hopefully, again, by some miracle, can do it again 20 years later, but yeah, so and I've got my scarf, which my cousin got me, and my scarf, which my sister got me, and this flag, But again, I know I only support Italy in Antwerp for the footy. Yeah, I hope they can show the passion, and all the diaspora and people in Italy get together behind the team, cheer them on, and root for them, and get the players to have that hunger and desire to play above themselves and hopefully be more clinical and play some amazing games. Hopefully, all being well. Again, I don't want to count my chickens and say we've already won. I definitely want to take Bosnia seriously. Again, they scored a late goal and they won on penalties, which some might say shows that luck is on their side if you believe in luck, or certainly that they have that fighting spirit. So I hope we'll give them just enough respect, but also not too much fear, and play our game and hopefully have that hunger and desire to get to World Cup and even go on to catch up with Brazil, to go to be the joint top, which would be amazing, of course. And the other thing is, look at how to market the football kits and say maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think Italian kits are the best, even though I'm not normally into fashion. Again, I've not mentioned that in the past, but mentioning it again. But for those who might not have heard me before, but yeah, like AC Milan, I think has the best kit, and then I think even Inter Milan, Inter Milan have a great kit as well, even though they're rivals, Lazio, Roma, and all those Italian teams. I think I'd say the best one is the Italian national team. For me, is the best kit, bright blue one. That's a really nice colour, and also I think AC Milan has a kit just about as good, and then Inter Milan, and but I think Italian teams generally have great kits. Fiorentina, Parma, and all the Italian teams, in my opinion. But maybe I'm being biased, but I'd love to know what other people think. But yeah, how can Italian football market itself? Please let me know. So any suggestions on how you would improve Italian football? Again, I'd love to know what people think about Italy itself, Italian football, especially Italian football teams, what they like or dislike about, or even hate or love about Italy or Italian football, and also how it can market itself and improve. Like I love to see Italian football become more attacking. I think sometimes we should play the ball out from the back, like the goalkeeper, but I think they should mix it up. So I think sometimes Donnarumma and the defenders should go long, and sometimes go short, but make sure people are ready for the passes. And if we're going to play around the back or go backwards, I think we should really make sure the ball's going to reach our players. So before I move on to point number 23, so I know I'm a bit long-winded, but I also hope that we learn a lot from Spain, France, Argentina, Brazil, and that kind of thing, like mistakes to avoid, but also like what they don't do so well, but also mainly what they do well, how to avoid their strengths. So when playing opposition, watch as many videos on them as possible. So hopefully Italy will watch, those involved in Italian football specifically will watch the management team, the FIGC, and Gattuso will watch hopefully the videos on Bosnia to see, especially the Wales game, how did they play, what mistakes that you could exploit, where are their strengths, who should we try to, what strengths should we try to avoid, so avoid getting the ball to Checo, obviously, avoid crosses or whatever they're good at, if that's the case, and also exploit weaknesses, of course. So as I put it before, weaknesses, strengths and opportunities, because I normally like to save the best till last, generally speaking. Number 23, as I say, I love to fundraise for Tampa to help with I know that's not going to help for the short term, like the national team in this World Cup campaign, which I again hope we qualify for. We're halfway there, but we still got to keep going. But in the future as well, so those football pitches and opportunities for Italians to play, fields where they can go and play and practice and learn. One thing I could have said, actually, in point number 21, is the former players going into schools and working as coaches and managers and that kind of thing, to improve younger people, to give them advice on diets, training, and things like that. I'd love for Italians not to smoke or drink or take drugs or things like that, and football being used to cut crime, and Italian football used to be part of football for the greater good and that kind of thing. And number 24, as I say, I talk about the diaspora, but obviously those in Italy itself, obviously Italian citizens, including migrants, coming together through football and being welcomed through football and that kind of thing, getting behind the team to spur them on for the World Cup. So hopefully that will start with positive. Well, I mean, I imagine that many people from the diaspora, and from Italy itself do get behind the team, but most probably do. But I'd love to get even more involved and even more of them involved, and also those from the diaspora. They often celebrate when Italy wins, like in Canada, America, and elsewhere. But I think it'd be cool if they also, as many of them as possible. I suppose in Brazil or Argentina, it'd be hard to imagine because they're also competing. But if, say, Argentina goes out or Brazil goes out or whatever, or both go out, then maybe the Italian Argentinians or Brazilians can show their support, which I hope will psychologically. I suppose football is very psychological. As some people say, you play football with your mind, with your brain or your mind, in many ways, as much, if not more, than your feet. Although it might not seem that way, but obviously tactics, tic-tacs, and all that kind of thing, as I would say, are really important for football. But yeah, I hope the whole nation, and those from the diaspora, as I say, will come together and maybe even offer, I suppose they're 23, but would, as I say, but maybe even offering more prize money for players if they win the World Cup. But it's not that I think they should need that incentive. I think they should be able to play for pride, play for what they believe in, for their nation and whatnot. But maybe getting advice from former players as well, as I say. I'd love to see celebrities like, again, I suppose I did say celebrities in point of 21, but I'd love to see celebrities like Madonna, Sylvester Stallone, Lady Gaga, who apparently is part Italian or whatever, and people with Italian roots getting behind the team. And as Ireland is out and given the connection with Ireland and Italy, the fact that St. Patrick's Day is the same as Italy's Unification Day, maybe even Irish people getting behind the team. I don't know, maybe that's asking too much. But moving on, number 25, I'd love for Italy to host events like the Mediterranean Cup, Republic Cup, Tricolor Cup, and things like that. Number 26, I know I've talked about how I'd love for Italy to give back to former colonies. As I said in the game against Northern Ireland, I guess both teams are former imperial powers. Maybe Italy could learn from its history and say we're not going to colonise others or whatever, peace with football, more wars and all that kind of thing. Maybe Italian football could represent that, or Italy could represent that through football as a nation. But I suppose historically, I was thinking that because I mentioned that because it was the 26th, and the number 26 reminds me of anti-imperialism and that kind of thing, reparations and whatnot. But yeah, maybe Italian football could give back. But it was, if someone looked at it from an ethical point of view, I guess it would be hard to choose which country is more or less ethical. I guess maybe that makes sense. Number 27. In the past, I've also talked about like award ceremonies and providing rewards for those who invest into and generally benefit Italian football, whether that's through coaching or funding or whatever it might be. So I hope they'll do that in the future. Number 28. As I say, we're halfway there. I forgot to say point number 24. I think I was thinking towards the last 5 or 10 minutes, and I mentioned this before, but my infamous words, but I want to say again that before the last, like say, I don't know if it would be 5 or 10 minutes, but let's say 5 minutes maybe most, before half time and before the end of the game. I think let's say if the game's really close, I think the manager should say, and let's say we're winning 1-0 towards the end of the game, I think the manager should talk about keeping hold of the ball, and I suppose it's simple things like trying to get the ball into a corner and things like that, but saying how long is left of the game, so to know whether to conserve energy or to push forward. Let's say we need to get an equaliser or things like that, having that fighting spirit when you're not playing. I suppose they say champion teams often don't have to play well all the time because they have that fighting spirit to score at the last few minutes or in the last few minutes or whatever. But there's even so you don't always have to play well to see games through. But yeah, moving on to, but yeah, hopefully Italy can have that miracle before I move on to point number 29 to not only qualify, but to shock everyone, as I talked about before, but to import 100 or two, to go on to win the whole thing. That'd be amazing. I'll say, I'll drink to that. That's my fantasy. Or one of my dreams, or whatever, fantasies or whatever. But moving on, number 29, I'd love for, I'd love for my fellow Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians and neurodivergent people to get behind the team as well. So I'd love for all possible people in Italy itself, including migrants, to be welcomed through football. Maybe football could be used to tackle racism, because you could say like migrants will get behind the team if there's less racism, perhaps. Maybe I'm being too idealistic, I don't know, but I may dream, as they say. That's my fantasy, as they say. Fantasy, that is. But yeah, all possible people in Italy itself, and those from the diaspora, and all possible of my fellow Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians, and neurodivergent people probably. If I could convince them, I'd love for them to get behind the team. Obviously, you need an opposition, so if everyone was an Italy fan, it would be a bit boring. But yeah, I'd love for those people to get behind the team, preferably, and even help fundraise the team, like neurodivergent people showing out of the box thinking, and also coaching and things like that. And number 30, as I say, rather biasedly off me, I'd love to see Italy win the most World Cups, ideally, and maybe becoming more ethical. I'd say win the most World Cups, although they're not necessarily the most ethical. But I'd love to know what you think. As I say, I know I mentioned that, but do you think the Italians are quite prejudiced, racist, prejudiced generally, as I say, including racist, or whatever? Or do you think Italians are quite friendly, or a bit of both? Or I'd love to know, again, your experiences of Italy, especially people of different backgrounds, and whether you think Italy is deserving of the World Cup. Dare I ask? I don't imagine many would say yes to that, but as I say, I'm a bit biased. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm out. And peace and love.